conversation to celebrate a special person. This is a virtual hangout program which is coming to you from different parts of the world to launch a publication of a book written by one of the true heroes of our time. Rosina Acheampong is the person we're talking about. My name is Bernard Avle. I will be your moderator for the next 2 hours. And we're going to be having a conversation about love, about learning, about history, about people, about places, and of course, about a special school and a special person. We would break the conversation into 3 parts. We would start by hearing from some people who knew her well to talk about the book in brief snippets. Then we would have a brief book review. Then the moderator would have a chat with her to situate the book in the context that we want. After that, we'll open the floor for comments and questions for Archie. Thank you for joining us, and we appreciate that Public Publications for bringing us all together. Special thanks to Nana Redamoa and the team. Before we introduce some of the functionaries, let me just say hello to Archie.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Bernard. So excited
How are you doing?
to have you here.
It is great to be here with you. Hope you're fine.
Thank you. Thank you for making the time.
My utmost pleasure.
Yeah. And thank you, everybody. Everybody, you are welcome for coming in spite of the pandemic. That is the spirit. Life continues in spite of everything. Meanwhile, let's do everything to protect ourselves and our families. And let's follow all the protocol and kick the pandemic out of this country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. So to start us off, we're going to have conversations about the book itself. And if you haven't seen the book yet, of course, I'm showing you a copy. There will be copies available after the program. But I'm going to ask a few people to say a few words about the book and also listen what they know about Archie. Dr. Na Adoko Ayite, can you do us the honors of setting the ball rolling for us?
Happy to, Bernard. So I think if you think about myself and my year group, we are probably best described as the Latter-day Saints. We came into Wesley Girls High School in 1996. And unfortunately, in 1997, Archie gave us that heartbreaking news that she was leaving our school. I'm not sure, honestly, I really can't remember what happened at that meeting, but there were near tears and there were actual tears. I think the only thing that made it just a little better was when she said to us that she's leaving so that she would benefit all of Ghana. I think that was the only thing that made it just a little better. In fact, in our minds, we were the most important people in Ghana. So why would she leave us for any other thing? But let me tell you something that at least all the members of my year group would remember. On Fridays, we would have a meeting at the Clarendon Chapel. We called it the family meetings. During this meeting, Archie would either praise us for doing something she thought was wonderful, or would be chastised for something we'd done that was just not okay, according to Archie. And there were all kinds of things. Often it was because we had done something wrong. And the things range from people writing on the wall. I remember one of the girls wrote on the wall, "Another day in my life, got to go on and be strong." Archie was worried sick, maybe somebody had a problem. And it will go all the way to an incorrigible girl misbehaving in the assembly hall. And that would be a reason for our Friday meetings. Now, during this meeting, we usually learn how to sing a hymn. And Mr. Wijona would play, I'm not even sure if it was an organ or a piano. He would play to teach us some Methodist hymns. You mentioned the hymn, play the piano, and we'll sing along. After a while, we'll start singing. But somewhere during that singing, Archie will walk in. the singing would stop and it would just be the piano. She would walk to the front and tell us off. Bernard, when Archie is telling you off, she does not hold back.
Wow.
She will tell us off for whatever it is that we've done. When she's done, she'll get down. There's a small step in front of the church. She'll get off of that step. And as if on cue, Mr. Widona will quickly start playing, Dear Lord and Father of mankind, for our foolish ways. Up until now, every time I hear that hymn, the first person I think about is Archie. There's so many things we can talk about when it comes to Archie. But there was just this sense that she loved us beyond what was possible for a headmistress to do. She was interested in everything that was concerning our education, our health, just our being Wesley girls. I don't know if you've seen us, but we even have a way we walk. It's because if Archie was walking behind you and you were throwing your legs about, she'll be quick to say, take short steps. Immediately you know Archie was behind you, and then you start walking like a lady. But to say I love the book, that would be an understatement. I love Archie. And so it's not surprising that I love the book. I loved
Something's wrong.
Now, we lost you for a minute. If you can come back and tell us why you love the book.
So there are lots of things I like about the book. Reading about the beginnings of Archie and how she even made it to Wesley Girls High School. And then her life in Wesley Girls High School, getting married, going to prep. You know, when you mention Archie, you think of Wesley Girls High School. But it was interesting to read about the time she spent in Tamale, the time she spent in Prempeh, and you understand why she was the way she was. All of that influenced who she was. But I think the part of the book I loved the most was Archie falling in love. When you've idolized somebody for such a long time, you forget that they were children at a point and they had the same vulnerabilities that you had. Let me read the part where Archie falls in love. The first time he met Mr. Acheampong. So she says, he had come on his motorbike and leaning on his motorbike, stared at me as he spoke to me. I glanced in his direction, but his gaze crushed me. I forced to look away. I could not sustain his gaze, and I avoided eye contact, all out of confusion, nervousness, shyness, and coyness. When I mustered courage to look into his face, I was overwhelmed by the handsomeness of his face. And I asked, Mr. Acheampong is actually a very handsome man. He was unbelievably handsome. And I was to carry this handsome face in my mind all the time after he had left. When I lay down that night, I remembered this handsome face. I slept with it and I woke up with it. When I was reading this part, I said to I remember in 2000, when I thought I was madly in love in Legon, lying on my bed in Volta Hall. And I'm like, well, I actually went through the same thing. That's just how life is supposed to be. Mrs. Acheampong, we love you, and I'm sure you know that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Na Adokwaite. I think you've given us a nice intro, and we'll follow your lead. There's personal story and then the excerpt of the book. So let me quickly move to Mrs. Linda Kujo to tell us a few things. Linda, you have the floor.
Thank you, Bernard. Yes, where do I start? Actually, I think I'd want to start in the pub in England. And it was one evening, one late afternoon in 2012, where the incorrigible year group of 83 took Archie to a pub. We met there, and as she says in her book on page 342, we ordered her an orangeade. The waiter brought it, and then she said, I'm not having that. having a mini beer. And we looked at each other, we thought, Archie drinks beer? And one of us said, I think it was either myself or said, and it probably was me, because I'm normally the talky one. So I went, you can't drink beer, it's not good for you. And she said, mind your own business. I'm drinking beer. That was a fantastic evening. Now, we went there, and amongst all the things that we talked about, and we talked quite deeply, actually, we all came feeling very, very weary after that because we were drained. And we told her all sorts of things, including the fact that when we were in school, we actually thought she hated us.
Wow.
But right after we'd said that to her, we actually read her recitation. And that citation is in the back of the book. And that was when by the time we'd finished that citation, we were all in tears, including Archie herself. It was a very emotional time. Now, why do I say that? Some of the words that we used in that citation were articulate, resourceful, courageous, humorous, intellectual, and eloquent. And as I read the book, I thought, actually, who says we didn't know Archie? We actually do know her very well. What we perhaps didn't know was what had formed the Archie that we all knew and loved. So that book put a lot of context to what we thought we knew. And my question is actually to anyone who reads the book, who says this story is not one of destiny? Archie had the qualities from birth. Wesley girls took those qualities and nurtured them. The story of Abuajua started from day one, that 10th day of January in 1939. And one cannot miss those threads of destiny weaving through this life. How perfectly the jigsaw fit, it all comes together. Because if we think about it, Abuajua was actually meant to be married off, to have children, bring them to the family home, and her brothers look after the children. Because that was the norm. But actually, that was not the norm for Abuajua. And Wafa Denchi made sure that it wasn't the norm for Abuajua. It could have been Abri girls. Poor Abri girls, sorry. Wasn't to be. Wafa Denchi made sure of that.
Yes.
The common entrance results, they ended up in a village in Ashanti region. Destiny read its head again, and it wasn't to be. It found its way back to Pepiasi. At the time that Archie took over from Miss Garnett, Wesley girls needed a firm hand, but also a hand that could negotiate the intricacies of politics that could not have played out in an expert setting of headmistresses. The school was actually at a crossroads. There was only one of two ways that it could go, and the world was watching. And actually, that is what our citation talks about. Right from the start of the book, Archie tells the story of how she was molded by Mommy Dearest, Mommy. That was tough love. It was stern, but it was loving. And it was instilling those qualities of a lady. And who says a lady cannot be born in a village? Mommy clearly played a massive role in nurturing and molding Abuajua the impossible. Wesley girls took Abuajua the impossible, Mommy's handiwork, and finished it off. In the book, Archie says girls come to the school, they are dismantled, they are put together, and they're allowed to grow. What that means is like the potter, the school works with what they have. The elements have to be there to work with. And Archie had it all there, thanks to Enopokwa, Mami, and Mama. Thanks to those three, and may they continue to rest in peace. Abuajua was not impossible. She was intellect, she had courage, and she had eloquence. The seeds, in my view, of destiny. And it is these qualities that she had and that were nurtured that led Archie to teach us to be resourceful, self-reliant, and self-assured. This is a trait that comes through the book. If you think about it, the wannabe dressmaker who made clothes for her doll, for herself, and for her kids, and how I would die to see Nana Kofi in those handmade, mummy-made pajamas. Can we have a photograph, please, Archie? But this tells the resourcefulness, and the resourcefulness actually that was instilled in us. And I remember when we were in sixth form, upper six, where we were organizing a fanfare. And Infantipim had decided that they were not coming to the fanfare because at the very last minute, the night before, they'd invited us to their school for a function, and Archie had said no. We were literally on the floor begging, rolling and begging. She says, you don't need the boys. And we said to her, Mrs. Acheampong, if we don't go to this fanfare, the boys will not come to our do tomorrow. It's a fundraising day. She said, you don't need the boys. We said, we beg you. She said, no. We didn't go. We had the fanfare and we raised 20,000 cedis in those days.
Wow.
Resource. Wow. Now, in conclusion, I just want to say, Abwajua the impossible grew through Archie the incorrigible to Archie the resourcefulness. So when you call us incorrigible, Archie, I think we took it from you. Against mommy's wishes, you go to live with mama so you can go to school. You convince your mom to keep you in school. You drag OC all the way to Pepiasi to convince your mom to allow you to continue to school, to sixth form. But actually, when OC gets there, the deal is done, decision is made. In my view, this is destiny. To all reading, that is the book. And that is the most fantastic book that lets us into the life of this giant, Mrs. Acheampong. Thank you.
Wow. Can I give you a round of applause? Awesome. Loved it. I like the fact that you picked on the destiny theme because I kept writing in my notes, destiny, destiny, destiny. And I feel you nailed it nicely. And I think you also given us a nice segue into another colleague in the 83-year group, Mrs. Samantha Prosser. So thank you for the 83 story. If Samantha is there, can you take it up?
Yes. Hello, everybody. I can't say how thrilled I am to be a part of this. To be honest, the way I saw myself, I can't remember. People will probably know more than I do. As far as I was concerned, I was under the radar when I was at Wesley Girls. I didn't give Archie a hard time. Okay, so that's just my disclaimer. All I remember of Archie was like she's come and she's walking, that walk and that look, which was very much, yeah, I'm onto you. And we knew exactly when to stop, and she did her absolute best and to mold us and make us sort of the woman that we are now. So I just wanted to talk a bit about the book, and just to say that it's been a real labor of love. It's been through all trials and tribulations, this book has come through. And I just want to also say thank you to, there's so many people on this platform who have worked so hard to make this a reality. And so give yourself a pat on the back. It's definitely one of those books that you find yourself reading quite slowly. That's what I found. Savoring bits, going back to read over. And let me tell you, it felt like, you know, when you suck on some bones that you've set aside after you've eaten your abenkwang and you go pick them up. It's a bit like that. You kind of go back, look at it, you know, read some more, go back. On my Kindle, it said 8 hours of reading. Let me tell you, it's not true. You can only do that if you're skimming through the book. You can't whiz through it like you're reading a suspense thriller. You're almost forced to go at a gentle pace. So, dear readers, please take your time. Okay, it deserves to be savored. For those of us that went to Wesley Girls, her account of her first week there will absolutely resonate. I mean, who can forget that shock of that rising bell at 5:30. Sort of like, I mean, the breakfast menu, I was really surprised to see that it's exactly the same back in the 50s, like what we were having when we got there. And oh my goodness, trying to stay awake in those last 2 periods after lunch. I mean, whose idea was that? It's quite hard. But the story starts off with this young girl from Tepiase, and you simply get swept along on this journey of destiny where everything seemed like it was meant to be. Even the bad things, or the things you would think for most of us, they say no, then that's not going to happen. It turns out right. And what you see is Archie's resolved. That's something that I see sort of come through the whole way, and this is a theme that runs right through. And she just kind of was just sticking to her guns. There are many bits in there that I could say. So if I had to pick a favorite bit, they're just different things. But I'm picking the one I'm picking because I thrive on humor. Maybe it wasn't humorous to others. Was her account of when she arrived her first day at school and she'd come all that way in that bone shaker. So for those of you that don't know the story, Archie had arrived up the drive. You know the drive, you get up to the top, and her mother had given her school fees. And she tied it in an old sort of, handkerchief and given it to her. And she kind of nicely tightened it and put it, you know what it's like, your grandma gives you something, put it somewhere. She stuck it somewhere quite deep underneath her clothing. And essentially, you'd have had to kill her to get that money off her. Archie's in there, and she's directed, go and wait in this queue to pay your school fees. And so she gets in the queue. She gets more and more sort of frantic. And of course, you're moving this thing to now it's over. So Archie's trick, it was kind of like some kind of a strategy, was to get front of the queue and then give her place up to the person behind her and go right to the back of the queue, because at this point I'm imagining this, actually, that your brain was going, how am I going to do this, how am I going to do this? And she did this several times, and this is the thing that was getting to me as I was reading it, thinking, oh my goodness, I was kind of getting all frantic. I was getting hot and sweaty worrying about this. Anyway, eventually she managed to get to this thing, but it was under the cover of dark, where she managed to dislodge this money and this thing. So, and I'm guessing in the way, I don't know, I was amused by it because I thought typically when you've come from the village, you're thinking, hey, everybody knows what they're doing. And of course, people don't. Everybody would have been in the same boat. So all I can say is that this book has been a fascinating read from start to finish. And what have I taken from it? I'm going to say that for me, my understanding that there is a path for all of us, wherever you start from, whether it's from Tepiase or it's from Paris. We may meander from time to time because indeed such is life, but with a deep resolve and determination, you'll get there and you will achieve. Abuajua, the impossible, is a shining example of that. So Archie, thank you for letting us into your incredible journey.
Wow. Thank you, Mrs. Samantha Prosser. If you just joined in, this is a celebration of the life and work of Archie. Some say the incorrigible, the impossible, the resourceful. Choose your adjective. We've just heard from Samantha Prosser. Earlier on, we heard from Dr. Nadoko Aite and also Mrs. Linda Kujo. So we're vacillating between the decades. So we've done 2 people in the early 80s. We've done somebody in the mid 90s. Let me come back to somebody who sort of crossed between the 80s and the 90s, Mrs. Lucy Quist. And she's joined us to share some insights from the book and also some experiences. Lucy, please take it up.
Right. Hello, everyone. And thank you so much for organizing this. Thank you to everyone who worked on this project and made it possible. Archie, we love you. We're so grateful that you took the time to put this together, because this is a book about your life and our heritage. So thank you. I learned so much about Wesley girls reading this book. But let me not bore everybody with my emotions and tell you a bit about experiences that Girls. So I arrived at Wesley Girls in September of 1986. Some of my year group on the call, and the reason why it's so important to emphasize 86 was we were the anniversary. We arrived, the babies of the schools, when the school turned 150 years. And I must admit, Archie made us feel so special that she would say things like, you can't send the Form 1 girls, you have to send Form 2 because, you know, they're anniversary babies. And we just spent our whole time in the school really like in Form 1 feeling like we were the best thing that had ever happened to the school. Of course, we were the largest class because we started an A class, which was an anniversary class. And I'd sit in awe in the assembly hall. We used to sit on the floor in the assembly hall and listen to Archie. And look, I literally took everything Archie said, and I'd sit there, eyes wide open, mouth wide open. I was the second smallest person in my year, so 140 girls. I was taller than one girl. I was that little, and you know, obviously people that small kind of need to be looked after. And I'd sit there and Archie would say, all the teachers are your aunties and uncles, and we're one family. And she was so emphatic about, you know, the family connection. I was like, right, I'm home. This is it. We're going to make it happen. And some, you know, people talk about, you know, the toughness and maybe how much Archie pushed us. But there was such a strong nurturing that we had from Archie. She didn't overdo it because, you know, if you overdo it, then you end up with spoiled children and then they're no use to anybody. So we weren't spoiled, we were special. But, you know, there's one thing that Archie said that I literally took to heart. You know, we talk about, you know, the time of the month for women, and some women I understand genuinely have a hard time. But I think for young women, especially teenage girls, we're still navigating, trying to figure out what this experience is, how we manage it. And I remember one day Archie telling us that, well, it's not an illness. And are you going to take 4 days off every month when you're working in a company just to lie in bed? Like, is that what you plan to do? And I was like, wow, okay. So this thing, we're not going to get a pass when we grow up and go into the workplace. We're going to have to work our way through it. But it's lessons like that that prepare you for what lies ahead, because you have to be practical. You can't go around wearing a badge that says I'm a woman, so, you know, everything else must fall apart because I'm a woman. So can you imagine our shock in Form 5? These such special anniversary babies. We were sitting, I think it was a mock exam for our O-level, and maybe we spent too much time revising. So we were you know, relaxing, chatting when you should be preparing for an exam. And Archie comes in and she's just so disappointed in us. How could you? How could you be wasting this opportunity? And she said, you know, it was like casting pearl before swine. And we were like, oh my goodness, we have been really, really bad because our mom says that we are ungrateful, you know. And I know my year group talks about it still because it really hit home, you know, that you have to continue through, but also at that moment of opportunity, that's not the time to waste everything that has been put into you. So look, when it comes to stories around our time at Wesley Girls, gosh, we could go on, but I feel that I was put in a position where, yes, I had to stretch, yes, I had to work hard, but I also felt nurtured. And as I read through the book, what I loved so much was the imagery, especially in the beginning, the imagery, the tapestry of you know, the Kwewu region, and the tapestry of family life, the tapestry of leadership. Sometimes people talk about people in Ghana and Africa, and they make it sound as though we're devoid of leadership. We have had leaders for generations. We belong to families that lead, and yet we are made to feel that we have no. When you read Archie's book and you understand the leadership and the understanding and the complexity of the family setup, you start to understand that there is more to us than what people tell us about. And, you know, in the interest of time, I just want to tell you two things that struck me. I was struck by the notion of Archie being on a diet. And I thought, wow. So Archie also had the regular whims of wanting to be slim with her friends. Like they were going on a diet and not eating as young teachers in Wesley Girls so that they would look good. Wow. but I was even more struck by Archie's humor. I mean, there's one page I read it, and I had to read it out loud to my husband. And I'll give you the context. The context is that my husband went to Achimota school. So I'm just going to read that very short excerpt, not a full page, and you'll see why I laughed. And I had to read it out loud to my husband because the humor was just too much. And I know people think Archie's all strictness, but there's lots of humor in there. So the bottom of page 410 starts, "Gay husbands, I congratulate you on your good taste, which is obvious by your choice of wives and partners. It takes courage, confidence, magnanimity, and a spirit of discernment to husband these brilliant freaks." This one. "I hope you have a sense of humor. If you are a gay husband and you're not of the Kwabuche stock or Motown breed, chances are that your wife would be critiquing your grammar, pronunciation, and diction. But don't worry. At the first sign of morning sickness, she'll get her bearings right, be properly oriented, and have her priorities right. She'll not only forget her own grammar, she'll lose her cosmetic purse and replace her key and misplace the keys to her jewelry box. Her characteristic way of walking, head high, square shoulders, legs together, short steps, which she learned at the same time as Archimedes' principle and Pythagoras' theorem, soon give way to the waddle of a duck. As she pauses from time to time in her walk to take her breath, her hands on her hips, panting, she will take a deep breath and acknowledge to herself that indeed the road from Freud to Frigidaire is truly bumpy." Wow. Thank you for all the love. If you haven't read it yet, please make sure you do.
Thank you, Lucy, and thank you all for giving us such warm and insightful angles to the book. This is a special program to celebrate the work of Archie. They Call Me Archie. It's an amazing journey of destiny, and very typical of you, the ladies. We have 40 minutes for 6 speakers, and you've taken 35 minutes. So now we have to squeeze the 2 men into the rest of the time. I guess it agrees with Archie's mantra, you don't need the boys. So they don't need us, but we are here. So Dr. Yalbeku, I'm going to give you 3 minutes to do what you can. And you need to let people know you're not there. There are two, there's a Yalbeku that goes through the book. I think you need to first explain who you are, because you are not that Yalbeku, the original one. And then see what you can do in 3 minutes. Thank you,
I'll try. So I'm Dr. Yalbeku. I'm Archie's favorite nephew. And I'm going to, the book is so good that I bought 2 copies already. And I'd like to touch on 2 parts of the book. I don't know if I can do it in 3 minutes, but I'll try. The first was a story that Archie and my dad had already told me several times. But when I read it, I laughed and laughed and laughed, because it was when they were in Pipiase, they had gone to Cape Coast. My dad went to Infansfilm at the same time as Archie. And when they came back, they were like the talk of town in Pipiase. And my great-grandfather, who's the patriarch of our family, accosted them in public that they were being undisciplined and stuff like that. And Archie and my dad went to talk to my great-grandfather, which was unheard of, because even our grandparents were afraid to go talk to him. And so our grandparents were in shivers in fear of the fact that Archie and my dad had gone to talk to my great-grandfather in a very disrespectful manner. And that was very, very funny to me when I read it again. But the other part was when a lawyer sued Archie for not admitting a girl who didn't pass the examinations well. And I was like, if the lawyer knew that if Archie sets rules, there were no exemptions, even for family members, he would not have wasted his time suing Archie. I'll give you a typical example. People say I was the head prefect in Infansfilm, or I got appointed because of Archie. I don't know how true that is. But when I was head prefect, Infansfilm had a tradition where every speech day, we used to have a dinner dance with gay girls. The year before us, Infansfilm boys were so desirable that Holy Child girls get crashed the dinner to the annoyance of Archie. So Archie took the girls back to school. And when I was head prefect, everybody was looking up to me. Archie is my auntie. They knew I had connections to her and I would make the dinner happen. Now, I didn't tell them that Archie doesn't make exemptions. And I was like, oh, I have this under control. She's my auntie. I'll take this. When the time came for us to go and talk to Archie, I went with my brother and 2 other friends. And typically when my brother and I went to visit Archie, we communicated in Twi. But when Archie saw us 4 boys, she threw me a curveball by addressing us in English. This was after she had given us lunch. And she said, your mission, gentlemen. And as I started telling her about the fact that we wanted to revive the dinner dance, halfway in my presentation, Archie cut me short and addressed the 2 friends who came with me. And this is, I'm paraphrasing because you can't say exactly what Archie says, but this is what she said. Look here, if you think you're going to use my nephew to influence me to change my decision not to have a dinner, you are wrong. And I'd like to let you know, go back and tell your colleagues that if anybody touches my nephew or manhandles him, I'm bringing the whole police the police barracks or whatever to Infanspim to arrest all of you. So she didn't give, even though I was so close to her, she still insisted that there was not going to be any dinner, formal dinner. In the end, she tried by asking the girls to come have dinner with us in the dining hall, after which we went to the assembly hall and watched drama. So halfway, she kind of met us, but she's one who doesn't make favors. And if Ghana had 3 of Archies, we would be much, much better off.
Oh, Doc, thank you so much for keeping it nice and sweet, Dr. Yalbeko. Let me say hello to the viewers who've joined us on Facebook. We're celebrating They Call Me Archie in person and also in work. My name is Bernard Avle. I'm the moderator for the sessions. Before I segue into my conversation with her, I've seen a few names I know, and let me just give them a quick hello. I just saw Bridget Jobenuku. Bridget, are you there? Hello? Okay.
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Bernard. Hi, Archie. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Good to see you. I also just saw Adelaide Hayward Mills, Lady Pastor. Say hello to us. I think your mic is off. Put it on. Okay, while she does that, let me also acknowledge Shirley Kelly. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real pleasure.
Hello.
Sorry, go ahead, Lady Pastor.
No, it's okay. When you're done.
Brilliant. Now, we want to now get the official review, and we're very privileged to have Professor Akosua Dakwa to walk us through a 10-minute review. I'm sure she could have done this in an hour, but we forced her into 10 minutes. Prof, thank you for agreeing to do this. May we now hear your review.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, my mates and seniors, juniors. Good afternoon, Wesley Girls family. 10 minutes. So this is a book about Archie, no doubt. So says the title. But it's also a book about our history as a Ghanaian people. It highlights the long-standing migratory patterns from northern Ghana to the south for work, the damming of the Volta Lake for electricity, and the losses therefrom, the ever-important role of the guitar in Ghanaian highlife music, and the origins of jazz. Now, those of you who do not know, this has nothing to do with music. This is also a book about destiny, the role of Teacher Amankwa and his wife, her first role model, Wafaden Chibeku, whose singular decision that she should attend WGHS and not EBRI changed not only her future, but that of many of us participating in this hangout. Her stellar academic performance from the beginning of school, No wonder she can remember so much about her early days at WGHS, including meals. Can you imagine? Sometimes I can't even remember what I had for breakfast, but you are reading this book and she's detailing the meals she had in Wesley Girls in the 1950s. For those of us who attended the school, reading the book will be a real treat. You can compare life in Gehe then with life as you experienced it. The food in their day was definitely much better than we had it. Margarine for breakfast, not in our wildest dreams. Although it seems the perpetual gar kenke we had was preceded by perpetual fancy kenke. Nonetheless, we probably were better off because I shudder to think of Archie showing up in an academic gown to call out names and positions at the end of each semester. That would have been truly something. And then there's the juicy bit about letters. But I'm not telling you. You all have to buy the book to find out what happened when letters from the likes of Kwaiotre boys showed up in Wesley Girls. Buy the book. So you'll also find out the origins of some of the words actually drummed into our heads often. Incorrigible, one of them. And then there are the stories about her time at Legon, none of which I dare say the current generation can identify with. It describes a time past and sadly displays how much has changed in our tertiary education system. Perhaps the best part about that section is the part about our Archie. Stern, put you in your place, Archie, in love. Edna has already shared that with us. Who can imagine that? It reads way better than a Harlequin romance, trust me.
Mm-hmm.
Archie's biography is also about disappointment and getting up when one falls. It's about courage in the face of distress. It is about making the impossible possible. Students can't afford sanitary towels? No problem, make them yourself. Mind you, this is long before the NGOs of this world had discovered the problem and the solution. While for many, Archie is associated with Wesley Girls, it is important to note, as has already been said, that she made a positive impact on students in the 3 geographical zones of this country. Prempeh College in the Central Belt, Tamale Secondary School in the North, and of course, good old Gehe at the coast. In reading about how she worked with the girls in WGHS to transform it, remember prefects meetings, family meetings, you can understand why we are the way we are. Archie's philosophy that underpinned her interactions with the girls was based on respect for young people and an abiding belief that young women were fully capable of achieving whatever task was set them. If we are confident adults now who excel at what we do, it is, I have no doubt, largely because we spent our formative years in the care of a woman whose perspective on how to train young women was truly unique. And if you thought what she did with us in an all-girls school was amazing, you need to read the book to find out about her amazing transformation of girls at Tamale Secondary School. It all began with a lunch with a bunch of smelly red shirts worn for a sports event. Another amazing aspect of Archie's story was the lengths she went to do the right thing, no matter the cost, including being hauled before a law court. What was her crime? You've been given a hint of it. But you have to read the book to figure out how Archie showed them that it is always the best thing to do to stick to what you believe in. And for anybody in a leadership position, this is a book to read for insight into what it takes to stand firm in the face of opposition, to be courageous, and to do what you know is right, even when all else tells you to do otherwise. Finally, it is important for all of us to remember that while we like to claim Archie as our own, she shared her talents with the whole nation, really, because her career did not end at WGHS. She spent her final years working at the Ghana Education Service as the Deputy Director General, the first woman to be appointed to that position. There also, you can find out her impact on GS overall if you read the book, for I'm not telling, although Dr. Yalbeku Jr. gave us a bit of a hint on that too. The book ends with Archie sharing her personal life with us and giving us insight into her life as a grandmother and the antics of her grandchildren. Needless to say, Rosie, named after good old Archie, is a force to reckon with as well. For what she can get up to, you have to buy the book. It reads easily. Archie writes extremely well, and she has tons of phrases that will amuse you to no end. My favorite is the story shared by Yabeku Jr. about her trip with her brother to see their grandfather. As she put it, they set their faces to their grandfather's house to tell him off, emboldened by the indignation of self-righteousness. You should read the book to discover what her grandfather did to them after they showed up with such indignation. Can you imagine the audacity? I read that and I think, no wonder she could understand that. She'd been there before, done it, gotten reprimanded for it, and turned out the better for all of it. This, however, is not a book for the faint-hearted. It runs 450 pages long. To get through it, I will leave you with my favorite message from Archie, one delivered at assembly on the last day of a school year when we're all itching to go home and just wanted her to get it over and done with so we could go. There she was, speaking slowly, shaking her head for dramatic effect. Never give up. Never, ever give up. Never, ever, ever give up. Never, ever, ever, ever give up. I'm sure you get the message as I did back then. You will need it for the middle of the night when you are tempted to skip some pages to get to juicier bits. Or better yet, when you want to skip to the end. So you can also say, I finished it on various WhatsApp platforms. When you are tempted to do such a thing, remember Archie speaking to you through me. Don't give up. This book, all 450 pages of it, is well worth every line and will leave you with many lessons and food for thought. Savour it. It's like wine. You sip it slowly. Take your time with it. And if you don't have a book, you are missing out. You need to get one to join all of us to enjoy this real treat given to us by somebody we love and cherish so, so much. Archie, we thank you, not just for your gift of leadership showered on us, but for taking the time at your age to give to us this lovely book, one that I'm sure will stay with us for years to come. And for the rest of you, get one as soon as you can. It is well worth it. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Prof. Akosia Dakwa, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, when something is this good, there's no need to make any comments. So just thank you. Just awesome. Now, I want to have a quick chat with Archie. And I need to say this, that when I visited her yesterday, I didn't get the tonation right. So I called her Archie. And she says, Bernard, if you don't pronounce this thing well tomorrow, the girls will kill you. It's Archie. And I took a mental note of that. So Archie, thank you for that correction. I would have been slaughtered by now. And it was really good to see you because having heard so much about you, entering your nice home and having over an hour of chat with you was just brilliant. So thank you again, Archie. This is my opening comment. Thank you for welcoming me to your home yesterday.
You're welcome, Bernard. I was so happy to see you. I was told you were so busy and I was afraid you were not going to make it. So I was excited when I saw you. And getting to know you personally was good. Yes, great. Thank you very much for the efforts you've made to come and do this. How I wish times were different and we could have had the opportunity to see everybody in person. Thank you. Thank you.
Great. I need to tell you that one of the reasons I agreed to do this was personal, because in reading the book, I noticed how complimentary you were of Infantipim School, Achimota School, and Prempeh College. And having attended a boys' school pre-sec myself, I thought this is one chance to make a good impression, because in the part about Wesley girls' husbands, you were very complimentary of Motowners and Fantifin boys. And also, you spoke very fondly of your time in Prempeh College. The only thing you said about Presec was that some teacher wanted to force your brother to go there. So it wasn't very positive. So this is a personal redemption for Presec in terms of agreeing to do this. But quickly, it seems to me as if your time at Prempeh was also quite useful in helping you prepare for your teaching at GEHE. What can you say about that?
Yes, Prempeh College impressed me. I was impressed by the way they operated. Orderliness. Things happen when they should happen. And I think I learned a lot at Prempeh, which helped me. People were helpful. Something that I enjoyed at Prempeh is that when I arrived, I was pregnant, heavily pregnant. And anytime I went up to the staff room, which was upstairs, I would get there panting. All the gentlemen, there were only 2 of us ladies on the staff. The gentlemen would get up for me. Each time I got there, they would get up for me and stand until I found a seat. And they will even help me find a seat. And when I sat down, they would get another chair for me to put my feet up. I enjoyed that and I loved them for that. The environment was friendly and atmosphere was peaceful. School calendar and timetable were orderly organized. Examinations, in fact, there was a lot I saw at Prempeh which were similar to Wesley Girls. And I worked hard and the school authorities were impressed. When I was pregnant, they indulged me, gave me a small timetable. So when I was free after my pregnancy, I was determined to make it up. I worked hard. I was never late and I never missed a day. And so, to my surprise, my second pregnancy, the people in the assistant and the timetable team committee tried to take me off the morning sessions. And I was very grateful to them for that. I loved to be in Prempeh. I enjoyed my life in Prempeh. And that is why I stayed as long as 10 years. And what was more, my husband had traveled and Prempeh College was some sort of a small township which offered me and my young family a shelter, environment, safe environment. And I enjoyed my life there.
Okay. Now, one of the ladies mentioned the level of detail in the book. I am fascinated you remember the meals you had at GEHE and some of the anecdotes and stories you remembered, including a girl who tried to put lice in your hair. Were you journaling as you grew up, or are these just recollections in old age? Because the level of detail is incredible.
No, I wasn't journalizing. I hadn't planned to write a book. It's just that by nature, I have a retentive memory. In fact, I don't forget things easily, which has its advantages and disadvantages. I remember a lot. I remember the names of all my students, most of them. If you mention them, you mention anybody, I can tell you which year group or which class. When I meet them, or even when you mention the name, I can put a face to the name. It's something I enjoyed. I was committed to whatever I did in Wesley Girls, and I had time for whatever I did.
Great. Let me come to the theme of destiny. I get the impression that your childhood molded you for this role, and I'll give you 2 examples. You can comment. Your strong matrilineal roots, but very difficult men. Your grandfather on the maternal side, almost like a bully, chauvinist type. Your father's limited role, having 5 brothers, and that type of upbringing, it seems as if it prepared you to become what you became. I don't know if your reflections on that, the extent to which your childhood and the early years prepared you to do the kind of thing you did in the life of ladies in your later years.
In fact, I wasn't going to go to school. My mother defied the head of the clan to put me in school because she herself had wanted to be a dressmaker. She had her sewing machine. She was put in an apprenticeship with a dressmaker, but she had to drop out because she couldn't read the tape measure because she didn't know numeracy. So, I mean, she had all boys. So when I came as a girl, my mother decided that she will bring me up to be a dressmaker, take her machine, which was sitting at home, which I did take and did part-time sewing, but I should go to school. Her only daughter should go to school so she could use the tape measure and become a dressmaker. And that's why I went to school. When I was in school, I was doing brilliantly well. So when my mother wanted to take me out of the school, school authorities protested and did not allow her. It happened at every stage. So I wasn't relaxed. I knew I was going to be taken out of school anytime, even though I enjoyed going to school. And the head teacher and his wife, with whom I ended up staying, it was taking shelter because they protected me from being taken out of school. Part of my story actually is the triumph of the girl child. I have 6 brothers. I was to go and be a housemaid for somebody, and my wages was going to be used to look after my brothers. And when they grew up and made it, they were going to look after my children. So I was protected by people who were impressed by me in school. And that is where a lot of the destiny thing came in. I was always protected from being taken out of school, and so forth and so forth. In the family front, even the old men were angry with my mother for defying the policy of the clan and took me to school. It is my mentor, Uncle Dan Wofadanchi, who made sure I went to Wesley Girls. By the time I was I came back to PPRC, as you know from the story, I was going to be hired out as a maid servant in Kumasi to some Lebanese man, but Uncle Dan said upon his dead body, he stopped it. A year later, I sat for the common entrance, and the following year, I entered Wesley Girls. Uncle Dan chose Wesley Girls instead of Aburi. You know, and the book, you will see how the struggle went. The choice of school, wrapped, cancelled, and you know, until there was a hole there. And my uncle quarreled with the school authorities. And finally, I got to Wesley Girls. Destiny, there's a lot. Divine intervention, sometimes I called it.
Yes.
You know, I was meant it was meant to happen. Even in my adult time, in my old age, I sit back, reflect, and I'm in no doubt that there have been a lot of divine intervention. It's as if some presence, divine presence, putting the story or the events back on course if things were being disrupted. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And one of the strongest that I discovered when I was writing the book is that when Miss Garnett, the last missionary and expatriate, wanted to leave and they were searching, at that time I arrived in Cape Coast. We were meant to go to Kumasi. As you must have noticed, I followed my husband on his transfers. That year, my husband's schedule was changed. The Ministry of Agri changed my husband's schedule and made it possible for him to be transferred to Cape Coast. There wasn't any branch of his schedule in Cape Coast. We were meant to go to Kumasi, and a telegram came transferring him to Cape Coast instead. And that one for me was amazing. And when I finally settled in Wesley Girls, whenever my husband got angry, he would say, "You brought us here. How do you say you know?" And we used to laugh over it, but it was true. It's because of me, my husband was transferred to Cape Coast. Amazing. That part of it is my amazing journey. And when I arrived and I went to greet Miss Garnett in Wesley Girls, when I arrived in Cape Coast, living at Third Range, I went to greet Miss Garnett. A week later, Miss Compton wrote a letter from England to say that in her life, her prayers are usually answered in dramatic way, but my coming to Cape Coast at that moment beats all, everything. And apparently, she had been hoping that I'll come back. According to her, when I left school, she never let me go in her mind.
Wow.
And as the senior prefect, he's been thinking of me and hoping that I'll come back to the school in future. But I didn't have that. I didn't think of it. It's true that when I was elected senior prefect, 3 years, and the job and everything and commitment, that's when I started carrying the school in my heart. And I never let go of the school in my heart. But I wasn't thinking of becoming headmistress. When I got married, I gave up all hope of coming back to Cape Coast.
Okay. You said somewhere that you owe everything to the students. You owe everything to the students. You keep saying that. Why do you keep saying that?
Yes. When I got to the school, I faced a lot of challenges. I'm a tribal connotation.
Really?
Yes. I had a lot of trouble not being fancy, not coming from Cape Coast.
Okay.
And I faced undermining from some of the teachers If you look at somewhere, it says, my first speech day. And on my first speech day, when the Obroni had left, my first public performance, the acting assistant headmistress, who was with whom I planned everything, and she was to introduce the dignitaries. An hour to the speech day, she sent a student to come and tell me that she couldn't attend the speech day, so she didn't turn up. I don't know. And I had been smelling a bit some type of sabotage here and there. I chose a student to come to do it, to perform on the program. After that, it became the tradition, and students were selected to play that part. But that was also the time of the Depression, when commitment wasn't there, sense of duty, everything was not important. Survival was. Teachers after school would go looking for essential commodities. So after school, the students were left on their own, and they became unruly. The first time I went to the school, the student of Wesley Girls heckled me. And there was a lot of indiscipline. Now, Ms. Garnett, the Obroni, talked to me. I was so shocked, I called her and I asked her why. And she opened up her heart to me. And I saw that she needed help. So I decided to deal with the situation. As assistant, I was very aggressive, bringing discipline into the situation. Ms. Garnett was happy. She gave me free hand. Then when she left, I saw that my problem, my challenges were discipline and finance, because the business and the administrative, that all were problematic. Organize the students, talk to them, appeal to them, their sense of duty, sense of honor, love for the school, motivated them with the history of the school, the achievement of the school. And I was impressed and amazed the way they listened and responded to my mentoring, you know. And they rallied around me, helped me with suggestions here and there. And we turned the situation around. The details are there. That's the part of the book that gladdens my heart. I feel fulfilled.
Wow.
When I think of that. And the prefects, there was a time they were running the school. They organized the students, made the rules, and made sure they obeyed the rules. It is a big factor in my life in Wesley Girls.
Okay, Archie, this may be difficult, but you taught at least from 79 to about 96, 97. Which year group gave you the most trouble?
Oh. Which year group gave me the most trouble?
The students.
I know. Interesting that I have to think about it. Oh, I know. I don't have to think about it. 93.
93.
Asian Science Group.
Oh, Lord.
Yes. Oh, I remember. They did. Oh, you know, I had organized the prefectorial system to run the school. A 6-year group, 93, got peeved about some issue. They didn't support the choice of the senior prefect that year. And they thought, they blamed me for it.
Oh, no.
There was a reason somebody was going to be a prefect. And we advised, we didn't say no, but we advised the upper sixth formers to make sure she didn't become senior prefect. Not that we had anything against her. So she didn't. We had our reasons, but we didn't want to belabor the point. So she didn't become the senior prefect. Now that person had gone abroad and come back. So when it came to AC's, the turn of AC's year group, they had somebody who was not their classmate, also on her way to win the elections. And they thought that previous year, when somebody who was not the mate of the year group, I stopped that. And they had somebody who was not their mate. I allowed it, and she had become the senior prefect. They never forgave me. They felt so hurt, and they decided to sabotage.
Oh, I see.
They did not cooperate with the senior prefect. They undermined her authority, so in the end, she wasn't effective. And their feelings were so strong. Is it true or false? Yeah, they gave me, they're the only group.
They give you the most trouble.
Yes, I got confused because I didn't know how to handle it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to ask you your favorite group because it will lead to a mutiny. So let me skip that question. And let me rather ask you about why.
My favorite group.
No, don't answer.
I don't have.
Super.
I say I don't have.
Answer noted. Thank you. Why did you choose to include falling in love in this work? Because like I think Doc said, it was my favorite part of the book. I just loved that. Why did you decide to include and give us all the details of your Legon falling in love episode?
Because I was in love. And somewhere there, if you remember, I said I married the Prince Charming. My husband was handsome and charming. I loved him. And but why shouldn't I include it? Because it's part of my life. And being the only girl, it was being drummed into my head that having children was important for the continuation of my mother's gate. So I knew I had to get married. And then I did genuinely fall in love. So why shouldn't I include it in? I know the students were surprised. My former students were surprised. They didn't even think I had a boyfriend, you know. Maybe that's why you are asking. I find your question funny.
No, I asked because I know when you are leading students, you advise them about relationships and love issues. And that particular age, sometimes we don't listen to what our parents or teachers say because we think they've never been through what we are going through. So I know you put that there for them to know you've been there before, seen it, done that, have a t-shirt.
That it is normal. And that I used to tell them, for everybody, but especially for us girls, nature has a program for us. If you don't wait, be patient, and you advance the program of nature, you end up having a miserable life. And I used to tell them, don't allow any stupid boy to lure you with a few stupid, miserable CDs, you know, and they used to laugh that I'm describing CDs as miserable. Yes, you cannot overprotect a girl. And we have, in my administration, I did more talking and more walking than sitting in the office, you know. We did a lot of talking. And in Wesley Girls, pastoral care was central to everything we did. Yeah.
Okay. So it's very clear to know and see how you changed the school. But the question is, how did the school change you when you went back? Not as a student, when you went back to lead it for 16 years. How did the school change you?
Headmistress.
Yes, as headmistress. How did the school change you as a person in those years?
Me.
Yes.
Yes. I'd had a lot of experience. I was a mother, and I had exposure other areas. And actually, what changed me was what should I say? The influence of the missionary, a senior colleague. When I met her and interacted with her, life was never the same. Life was never, I saw things differently when I was with her. And the way I reacted, I realized that I wouldn't have reacted that way. So somewhere, I don't know whether it's in this book or in a journal, if I had not seen her, met her at work, I would not have lasted that far. Yeah. She was patient. And I was the two of us, we ended up as a team. And I was learning from her. So at one time, I asked her, I know that you never get angry. You never raise your voice. Is it because nature didn't put in you the faculty that makes people angry? And she just laughed. But she intrigued me. Then she would tell me that she too wished she had that side of me, the no-nonsense part of me. So I learned from her, and she gave me one advice, I think two. She told me, try always, I was her deputy, she was her, try always to be on the side of the students. And initially I said, what nonsense? You are there to keep them on track. And then gradually I realized that was the easiest way of controlling people. If you are on their side, you see things their way. And when you see things their way, you understand reasons for their naughtiness, and you have a way of reasoning it out and dealing with it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Archie. I have so many questions, but we don't have time. I just hope the process of writing the book and this conversation is enjoyable for you, because you said to me that you've been trying to write this book for a while and the students have encouraged you to write it. So I hope the process has been uplifting and therapeutic and energizing for you. I really hope so.
Fantastic, it has. And the excitement my students showing really has made it all worthwhile. And I'm glad I made the effort to write it.
Super. So if you just tuned in, we're having a chat with our great Acheampong, Rosina Acheampong. It's a virtual hangout to launch her book, An Amazing Journey of Destiny. And this program is put together by DAC Public Publications. This is the third part of the program. We've started with the first part where 5 people went through their reflections on the book. We had a very exciting review from Professor Akosia Dakwa. I just finished having a chat with Mrs. Acheampong. Now we want to do what we call the open session. And I want to acknowledge first our 70 participants on the Zoom and our many participants on the Facebook platform. All of you give us a wave. Just give a wave to all those who are watching on Facebook. Let the Zoomites give the Facebookers a wave. Super. Now, I am just going to give, let's do this 2 minutes each because we have so many people who want to go. So I will start by calling a few people, and then if you feel you need to speak and I haven't called you, just send me a message in the chat so I will mention your name. So in this session, we're going to share comments or questions. If there are any questions to Archie on the book, or there are any comments you want to make about the book or Archie, this is the time to do this. I want to start with Mrs. Sedina Agama, if you are there.
Hello, everybody. As I just said, my name is Sedina, and if you've read the book, you'll see that I've had the honor of being named in the book. I feel very honored to have my name appear in your book, Ma, twice. But I think that's a demonstration of the relationship that we've had through Wesley Girls and up until now. Yeah, a lot of people have commented about Wesley Girls and what it gives you. And I think your book is an epitome of all of that. When I read the book, there are a number of things that come to mind. And I just made a list of some words that are demonstrated through your life, through the contents of the book, but also a thread that runs through all of us gay girls. I meet many people and they say to me, I don't need to ask what school you went to, I can tell. And that always intrigues me. And I go, you can tell? And they say, well, yes, from the way you speak and from the way you walk. And that always makes me smile. Because one of the things that I would always remember about you was how you used to make me walk up and down Atra Lane. And those of you who went to Wesley Girls, you will know Atra Lane was the main central walkway through the school. And you used to stand at one end and you used to shout out instructions to me. Head high, nose in the air, shoulders back, small steps. And I remember thinking, why does she always do this to me? How embarrassing in the middle of the school. But then when I meet people now and they say, it's the way you walk, I now realize you were actually putting a stamp of Wesley Girls on me. And for that, I am very grateful. And I find myself saying the same to my daughters. So thank you very much. But back to the words, I think for me, determination, resilience, courage, flair, adaptable, fun. Those are the words that come to me. And again, I will comment on the clarity with which you describe. I feel like I've been to Kwewu. I've always wanted to go to Kwewu, but when I read your book, I felt like I'd already been there because you gave such a clear, concise description, the imagery, and your mom and your wafa, they remind me of my mom and my wafa too, because my wafa was the one who said it was Wesley Girls and nothing else. And for me, as much as my father wanted me to go to Motown, my uncle was, no way, it's Wesley Girls or nothing else. So your book, it resonates a lot with me. And lastly, the other thing that resonates with me is the importance and the value of the education of the girl child, but also the matriarch influence. I come from a home of very strong women. And I liked the fact when you were talking about your mother's sisters, that you had 5 mothers. They were not aunties and you didn't have cousins. And those were the very things that my mom always said to me. So thank you. And thank you again for mentioning me in the book. And remember, the afternoon tea is waiting in England.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me bring in Nana Oye Litha. Nana Oye, take it out. Nana Oye, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much. Acheampong. This is very emotional and personal for me. Mrs. Acheampong gave me a chance. I was a very naughty girl in school, and I was not going to be accepted into sixth form. And Mrs. Acheampong gave me a chance, and the rest is history. So reading through this book and really getting a feel of Mrs. Acheampong's challenges and why she took certain decisions, it really resonates with me. And like Sedina, what I think about is her confidence. Everybody keeps talking about Mrs. Acheampong walking up Accra Lane. But for me, the good thing was that you could hear her coming. And I remember as a dining hall prefect, Jifakata, Abnayamwa, Linda, we had prepared some rice and stew and stuff, and we heard her coming. And I was lying in my bed with my sleeping cloth covered, and there were pots lined up all beside me. And she came into our dorm, and thank God she didn't find out what we were doing. But I have to say the empowerment. She empowered us, empowered us, and her principles and her values and her discipline and her talk about family. The 1983 year group is a very close group of sisters and all other groups, and we have carried each other because of the principles and what she imbibed in us, the empowerment and the confidence. And her personal story really resonates with me personally. And also the first time I went to Peru, Pepiasi, I was like, geez, I'm in Pepiasi, and all the stories came back. And Mrs. Acheampong was such that, like, we knew her mom. I met her mom personally. I am very close with all the kids and everybody. But we say that thank you so much. I'm sure you've heard it all.
Yeah.
Mrs. Acheampong, thank you so much. Me personally, for giving me that chance to get into sixth form Wesley Girls, despite all the times my name was in the blue book, not the black book, the blue book and all the discipline issues.
Thank
you.
Still
chance. So thank you very much, Mr. Acheampong.
Thank you. Let's go to Dr. Pamela Aban Ohinijan. Doc, please take it up.
Hello there. Thank you very much, Bernard. Archie, Mr. Acheampong, it's a real honor to be here today. And I'm coming in against the grain because I didn't go to Wesley Girls. I went to Holy Child, rival school. but it's all good. It's all good. There's plenty of love there. But I met Mrs. Acheampong, so against the grain in that I met her after she left Wesley Girls.
Okay.
So I'm part of her life and she's part of my life, but this is after she left Wesley Girls. But of course, as a person, she's always been the same person. An incredible, incredible, selfless woman. Every time I'm in her presence, I feel so elated and very excited to be with her. And I steal opportunities to be with her in her presence because that's how much she means to me. So Mrs. Acheampong has helped us so much in our journey with our school, East Airport International School. And the selflessness is incredible. I mean, this is a luminaire who comes to us. She's the chair of our board of governors. She comes to us and she just gives so much of herself. And when you look at somebody like this, who is really a national treasure, coming in and doing this, it's just an amazing thing. So reading Mrs. Acheampong's book, it just tells of herself. You get to understand the person. Because most of us see her as the professional and this great person who is right up there, who you can't really touch. And this book is telling us, well, I'm human, actually. And the humor that goes in there. So her days before going to Wesley Girls tells us about herself, what shaped her, what shaped the journey, going into Wesley Girls, post-Wesley Girls. She has a life post-Wesley Girls, and we're a life. And it just makes you understand her. And you see the soft, you see that softness, talking about falling in love, etc., etc. And indeed, you look at this and you think, well, I would go to say that this is somebody who has made her own luck. I know it may sound a bit controversial, but this is somebody who has put herself forward in positions where she has driven to some extent, her destiny. There has been, yes, in her own statement, there's been some divine intervention that has brought it together, but she has also positioned herself to make that path coincide, to lead her to where this has led her to. This lady is full of integrity.
Doc, we have to cut in because of time.
Okay, so with her fortitude, her courage, and her confidence, she just brings all these things. We imbibe it. It drives us through. And I would say, everyone, read this book, because there's something in there for everyone to take. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think credit to the Wesley Girls people for not muting your sound, even though you get crashed their party, but you're welcome. God bless you. Let me read a couple of quick comments, and then I will come to a few more people. There's an interesting comment from Efiba on Facebook, and mind you, our Facebook views are over 260. Efiba says, the way Archie discouraged dating in school, I blushed when I read about her falling in love. Archie, you see why that was a good question to ask. Elsie Dixon, you're laughing. Take it up.
Thank you. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time, and it's a privilege to be part of it. Many people ask, what is the essence of Wesley Girls? And it's impossible to describe. But if you read the book, you get a glimpse of what that essence is. It's very intentional. One of the things Archie used to say when we were in Wesley Girls was, I'm going to try to imitate her. Forgive me. In Wesley Girls, this is not part of our tradition. And I'm sure every single girl heard my poor imitation of Archie, but gets the sense behind the Wesley Girls tradition. Reading the book, it just opened my eyes to some things that I didn't realize, just how intentional everything was. An expression like noblesse oblige. Our privilege gives us the responsibility to act a certain way, to give back a certain way, and to honor what that essence is. And I just wanted to say thank you for teaching us that noblesse really does oblige. I'm looking forward to, I'm reading the book very slowly on purpose, because it's not the kind of thing that you chug back like a glass. There's so many nuggets in there, and my poor husband is going to have to deal with me gushing over Wesley Girls and the essence of Wesley Girls. I think Archie represents that essence. And so if anybody really wants to know what the essence of Wesley Girls is, I would say read the book. And if you ever have the chance to interact in person with Archie, go for it, because she is the essence of Wesley Girls.
Thank you. Let me take Dr. Sybil Paintil.
Hello, thank you so much. It's such an honor to be on this conversation. I represent the famous 1986 year group. We were the first group that actually started with as headmistress. We never knew an Obroni headmistress. We were never taken care of by missionaries. We were Archie's very first group to carry all the way through, and we're just so proud. I am a bit of an oddball in that I had no former ties to Wesley Girls. My mother never went to Wesley Girls, and yet my sisters, Susan, Yvonne, and I were so honored. We were the Saki sisters walking around Wesley Girls and having to engage Archie and get in trouble left and right. Now, the book, what fascinates me about this book is, for all of us here, we know the end. And now you're going back to the beginning. and learning about the making of legacy. You're seeing here how a legacy is made. And it's fascinating to see how everyday decisions have turned into a lifestyle of service and giving and changing the course of society. And it's truly, truly amazing. It's also a lesson on leadership. When you read the difficulties that Acheampong had to go through, the difficult decisions that she had to make, the time she had to stand up for us, whether it was going to find us food. This is for those of us who lived during the famine, or going against the Ministry of Education or the Methodist Church, just real difficulties that she had to deal with. The one that really got my attention actually was the story. I wasn't there at the time, but I guess this was soon after you left, and you had to tear down part of the building that the next headmistress was building and attaching to the house, and you had to instruct the architect to tear it down. I literally held my breath during that point, like, oh my gosh, how did she do that? But it's just an example of the difficult decisions that you had to make. And in today's society, we need people who can make hard decisions. And when we look at the world and everything we're going through. So if you want to grow as a leader, get this book. If you want to learn how to be challenged, get this book. And if you want to understand why Archie dealt with us the way she did, get this book. Because I never knew, Archie, that you love tea the way you do. And so now I understand that day that I was so privileged to be invited for tea time. And I was so excited, went over to Archie's house, sat there, got the tea, took the milk and poured like half the tin into my cup because I like my tea with a lot of milk. How Archie blasted me, right down to my father, who's an ambassador, and I should know better. But I'm like, well, I like my tea with a lot of milk. And for years, I never understood why. After reading the book, now I know why. She took it so personally and blasted me as well as she did. Archie, we are so grateful. You've made us all who we are. We don't take your leadership for granted. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to read a few more comments, and then I will take a few ladies, and then the men. We are getting extinct. So gentlemen, give me a wave. I've seen Nana Acheampong. Kwabena Ohenijan is there. Albeku, you're still there. I'll give a few men the chance to talk. I know you don't need the men, but we need you, the women. So we will talk. This is a comment from Ajua Akwo. I don't even know how you remember everyone. There are so many kids, so many naughty ones too, with a lot of smileys. Eve Kwaku says, we love you to bits, Archie. You really impacted our lives. One thing that always stuck with me was you saying, to whom much is given, much is expected. Thanks for sharing your story with us. We are honored to read. Catherine Donald says, she saw and immediately recognized me years after I left Wesley Girls. When she came with some girls in the school bus to Legon campus, she immediately asked me how I was before I could even greet or introduce myself. I was very quiet in school and I didn't think she even knew I existed. Oh, Archie. So many beautiful comments coming through. Emerald Jane Hunter. This woman single-handedly changed the lives of thousands of Ghanaian women. We've now become the pride and joy of Ghana. Another one coming in from Doris Eshan. Thank you for instilling in us that holy fear, quote unquote, to live right and respect for authority. I can still see myself fleeing from crime scenes. Just the sight of you. Okay, let me take Esi Asari. Esi, are you there?
Yes, thank you. And Mrs. Acheampong, this is an absolute honor to be here. And this is an amazing, amazing session. And to my fellow sisters, the anniversary babies, I have to say a big hello. Mrs. Acheampong, you have had, I can say, a huge impact in my life. Your leadership has gone a long way, I know, with all the amazing women on this platform and those who are watching remotely. And I must say, the fact that you have inspired a lot of people is beyond even words. One thing I must say, though, I remember that one of my last trips to Ghana, I hadn't been to Wesley Girls in a very long time. I remember getting off the plane and one of my classmates picking me up 2 hours or 3 hours after I had arrived to bring me to the memorial event that we have every year. And I remember that was the last time that I saw you. And when you saw me, your words to me were, you know, I had another event this day. And something told me not to go to that event, but to come to this one. And your words to me were, you were the reason why I was supposed to be here today. And that blew me away. That was so powerful. I know my family has had the opportunity to engage with you through family members, and I know your nephew Yao quite well. And so the fact is, family is huge to you. You're inspired by those around you who really show up, and giving those of us who have come through your doors the opportunity to do the same for others. And so for that, I'll say a huge thank you. And I know that your legacy will never be forgotten. Mrs. Acheampong, this is for you. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, let me take a comment from somebody from your first sixth formers, the 1980 year group. She was known as Adelaide Baden. Now she's Lady Pastor Adelaide Hayward Mills. If you are still there, can we hear from you? Adelaide, are you there?
I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Mrs. Acheampong. It's a privilege. It's an honor.
Sorry, there's some feedback. There's some feedback in the system. You need to turn something off.
Really?
So start again, but if you can, please.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Mrs. Acheampong. It's exciting to be here, and it's an honor to know that you mentioned me in your book. I didn't know I was such an integral part of your story. I remember that you called me on the speech day, on the cusp of everything happening, and you asked me to put a speech together with a bit of your help, but I didn't know that I was coming to rescue some sabotage in the system. What a privilege and an honor to have had to do that. I cherish my relationship with you. I remember on my wedding day, I wasn't expecting you, and there came the Wesley Girls bus up Commonwealth Hill, and you attended my wedding to my surprise. Thank you very much, and thank you for being there for us. I will always remember Tradidi Trarere, because you always said the tradition must continue. Unlike Kiso, I think beyond Kiso, the tradition goes on. And I remember you walking down Accra Lane with such grace and such poise. And my husband has often asked me whether we are taught how to sit and how to walk. And we owe all that to you without even knowing what we were doing. You came after Miss Garnett, so for me, I had the taste of the two. And I think that we were privileged that the baton went to you. Thank you for making ladies out of us. I also wonder sometimes how things have continued and Wesley Girls still seems to be on top and the beacon. How did that happen? But you answered it in your book. In one of the things you said, succession was important, and that the missionaries were combing for a successor 10 years before they would even hand over. And that spoke volumes to me, and I've learned so many secrets. I still don't know all the reasons why we are so proud of our school. We love our school so much, and people don't understand it. And well, that's what it is. But thank you for the building blocks, for your contribution. May God bless you. I will always love you. I will always support you. God bless you for what you've done. And because of you, we too can pass on a legacy to generations yet unborn. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. Let me take Mrs. Kukua Morris Ankra.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Archie. This was a very, very, very good privilege for me to be here. For some reason, I was always on your radar for the wrong reason. I had no clue why, but I guess you still loved me, because when I finished this form, you hugged me and said, the sky is your limit. was amazing to find out years later that when I entered Form 1, you saw something in me and I was your project. For years after when you told me that, I used to think, my God, how could I be working in the school and I was somebody's project and I had no idea? But I thank you for the discipline. I thought you were too hard on me, but I guess it's all turned out good. What I found interesting in the book was actually at page 301 on the chapter on admissions, and the last sentence of the first paragraph that says, at the end of the call, I put down the receiver, broke down and convulsed in tears. As I sobbed, I shouted in between the tears, it is not fair, it is not fair. Why don't they leave me alone? And I thought to myself, wow, she also had frailties and vulnerabilities like everybody else. That was the first time I realized I had never thought of Mrs. Acheampong like a normal human being. I mean, she was just superwoman who could do about anything, everything that she could do. And I guess now, on hindsight, we were not very fair to you because when you are grown, you are also a mother. You realize that all days are not the same, but somehow you still put on a brave face and then you forge on for your children to feel at ease. And I guess that's exactly what you used to do. When I read all the various challenges you had, and to think I never thought you were vulnerable, I never thought you would, you had ever cried. I never thought that it was possible that anything could overwhelm you. It just shows how much you put in to ensure that we turn out well. And on behalf of the 92-year group, I would like to say a very big thank you. We are very, very grateful for how you helped us and what you contributed to our life. As you used to say, when you plot the graph of Wesley Girls, you give a dot. So we know that we are all dots on the graph of Wesley Girls. And I'd like to say a very big thank you to you. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you. Let me do Mrs. Vicky Sechereabankwa. Are you there?
Thank you.
Yes, Bernard, I'm here.
Please go ahead.
Please. Hello, everyone. Mrs. Acheampong, it's good to see you.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to read your book. It's amazing to see that the traditions we came to meet were there for so many years and still exist to this day. And for me, what that tells me is that we are the legacy, and the onus lies on us to carry that legacy and carry the brand that is Wesley Girls and ensure that it is sustained for more generations to come. Another thing that struck me was something you said on page 294 when you were talking to a senior Ugu, and you told her, what you need in life is courage. And that resonates with me because to make any change, you need to be courageous. To be a leader, you need to be courageous. Even to be a parent or a guardian, you need to have courage to get anything achieved. More so, our brand stands for excellence. To achieve excellence, you need to have courage. Another thing that struck me beyond the resilience and the perseverance of your character and seeing you in a more human light because you are the legendary Archie, was the care. You cared and you still care. And I realized that to be a great leader, to be the legend we've come to know, you cared to make a difference. You cared to impart knowledge, and you had the courage of your convictions, and that is something you taught us. And for that, I say thank you. And God bless you.
Thank you. So let me now turn to a few men, and then if there are non-students on the platform, like maybe mates or colleagues in school, take them. But Nana Acheampong, you've been sat quietly throughout the process. Thank you for your patience. Can we hear you now?
Thank you, Bernard. I mean, I'm sure you will understand with me that I'm quiet because I'm very humbled. This forum has shed, interesting information about my mother outside the home. But I wanted to say, I'm very proud of you, Mom. Whatever everyone is saying now, I've heard it before, but in this environment, it's different, and we, I feel very grateful to everyone. So I'll defer my time for other people to also express.
So you are the Nana Kofi.
Yes, yes.
The one who didn't want to leave mommy alone when she wanted to work as a baby.
So thank you very much. It's humbling.
Thank you. Let me take Victor Bampo and then Kwabena Ohini. I will come to you. Dr. Victor Bampo.
Thank you very much, Bernard. And I feel very privileged to be part of this event. I feel like today I'm an alumni of the State Girls High School. And especially because we're celebrating an amazing woman, who has a fascinating story. And I'm infected by the enthusiasm that everyone is showing. Like one of the previous speakers said, I must confess that since Egbert Fable introduced me to the book, I've bought more than 2 copies, and I've been spreading the joy around, because you realize that, you know that great Ghanaian people don't like to write a lot, so this is, very nice story. I've read it twice. And I think Prof. Akosua Dakwa did a fascinating job of actually breaking down the book into perspectives. And I took 3 bits away. Number 1 was that her life is actually a microcosm of the history of Gold Coast and Ghana. The second part is the fact that it is, and she said it herself, actually said it herself, the triumph of the girl child. And then the third part is destiny. So what would have happened if some of the bridges that she crossed had not been crossed? We would not be having this meetup today. So, that thin line between her being a maid servant in Kumasi and being the great mother that we are all celebrating today is very poignant. It struck me. But 2 things before I end. Number 1, I just wanted to highlight 2 parts of the book that I really like. The first part is what Dr. Yao Beko talked about. I think it's everybody's favorite part of the book, so I won't go into that. But I just wanted to read 2 sentences from page 72. I found it very humorous, where she said, Papa asked in his characteristic authoritative tone, stammering, hey, what are you people eating? And she said, we are drinking tea. That was when she and Yao Beko had come from Cape Coast. We replied. He said, why? You don't want to eat fufu anymore because you have been to college? We inquired. Oh, we eat fufu, all right. This is only Kameto Mpaso, a nightcap. And he said, hey, stop this nonsense. It is a waste of money, unnecessary expenses. Eat fufu. It doesn't hurt your stomach. It is a maso or hubris. I found that really interesting. The second part I will not read, but that's on page 280, which talks about that meeting that she had when I think the expatriate headmistress wanted to hand over to her. And I can imagine someone from Pepease, meeting all the big shots of the Methodist school, and as she describes it herself, unremarkable with her bangles on her hand and short hair and all that. And if she hadn't been given the chance, we would not be here today. So I think these are the few things that I want to share. Just want to say congratulations to you. And I think you've imbibed greatness into all the ladies we have on here, and all the ladies throughout the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vic. My final man would be Kwabena Ohini-Jan, if you are there.
Yes, hello. I mean, this is a great opportunity for me to say a few things. But let me start by acknowledging the generosity of 2 people who are on this platform. That's Nana Kofi and Ajua, who are the children of, Mrs. Acheampong, Auntie Rose. And the fact that they're so generous, they allow us to share their mother so generously. It's incredible. And over the years that I have known Auntie Rose, as I call her, she's been very generous with her time and with her with sharing her knowledge. And the writing of this book has been partly, I think, in a bit of the acknowledgement, I've been put down as a tormentor in chief that you know, pestered her, and she often wondered, what is your interest in this enterprise? And my response has always been, the amount of information you share with me, it'll be a travesty if you didn't put it down in a book. And so the outcome of this book has been an amazing journey in terms of the content. And yeah, I think Auntie Rose, well done. And
Thank you. Thank you. Let me end this session, if I may, with Adjoa. And if you could just tell us a bit about being both a student and a daughter to your mom as headmistress. I'm sure that must have been something. Adjoa, if you are there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes, being a daughter of Mrs. Acheampong and having her as a headmistress, as you say, is very interesting. But I would just mention one thing to drive home a point. I was in Wesley Girls, and because we lived on campus, I was a day student.
Okay.
Somehow, my mother thought that I was not getting the proper Wesley Girls training because she thought that I was perceiving my headmistress as my mom instead of my headmistress. And so she decided that I would go to boarding school, even though the house was just a stone's throw from the school. So she bought a chobox, she bought gari, made shito, they put it in and a few provisions, and she sent me packing to boarding school so that I would get the proper Wesley Girls training, because she thought that if I stayed at home and went to Wesley Girls, somehow my training would be diluted and I wouldn't get the tradition as pure as it was. And I'm grateful to her today for doing that, because it is different living at home and taking liberties than being in boarding house and conforming to the full routine of a boarding house. And even that she set rules, we could not come home all the time. We could only come home on the weekends, certain times in a month. So she really wanted me to get the proper Wesley Girls training, and I'm ever so grateful to her for that. I just want to thank her and say that I'm very, very proud of her. The mental fortitude that she has, in the sense that there's nothing that comes her way that she is not able to deal with. And we have seen her through different aspects of her life and how she has come out even stronger. And with that privilege, seeing the front end of it and seeing the back end of it, as they say, is an experience that we will continue to cherish for the rest of our lives. And so, Ma, we are very, very, very grateful to you. Every now and then we tease her that she has become a grandma and she has softened up. And we miss the drastical aspect of her to come out every now and then. So, Mama, well done, and we are so proud of you.
Thank you so much, Adjo, for sharing with us such an incredible woman. I think the vote of thanks has to be given by her 97 babies, but I think it's also fair to just give shouts to people who are on, who we didn't hear from. So I see some names here. Dinah Adoyobo, give us a wave. I don't know if I called you. Charlene Poku, I don't think I called you. Charlene, thank you. Kukwa Morris, something. I don't know if I'm getting your name right. Give us a wave if it sounds like your name. Okay, I think you just spoke, actually. I also see Sylvia Akwabwa. Sylvia, thank you. I see Tish, somebody who's called Tish. Jane Kumi, thank you. Bridget Jogbenuku, thank you so much.
Hello.
Nana Abba Odei, I see you. Thank you so much for being on this. And of course, somebody called Vivib. I'm not sure whether that's a sobriquet or it's a real name, Vivib. But thank you. Abba Gazy as well. Abba, hello, thank you. Nikki Kwamye, is that the name? And then Abba Sapong. And then Kwachiwa. So many names I'm seeing here. Thank you all. Is it right, Mrs. Acheampong, to let your 97 babies give the vote of thanks? And would you want to say a few words in appreciation before we take the vote of thanks?
Oh, I think I saw somebody. It's better here. Better Sewa, Ayi, Dr. Ayi. No, it is okay. 97-year group can give the vote of thanks. I'm happy with that.
Great. So who are you selecting? 97-year group.
Oh.
I'm from 97-year group. This is Nikki Kwame.
Okay.
Mrs. Acheampong. So from our class, we were the last group when the change happened from Mrs. Acheampong to Mrs. Thompson. And my year group will remember when we got the news that Mrs. Acheampong was leaving. It was the most devastating time that we have ever gone through at Wesley Girls. We did not know what we were going to do. We felt betrayed, we felt disappointed. We called her into a meet and asked her why she was going. We wanted to know if we could change her mind in any way. And I remember one thing Mrs. Acheampong told us was that we know her, we know what she's done with us, we love her, we understand her, but we have to be able to share that with the rest of the country. And that is what gave us peace, that we knew what we had was really precious. And what was happening was that we were sharing this precious thing with the rest of the country. And now with your book coming out, it's even more precious for us that the rest of the country really has this legacy to hold on to forever. And for that, we are so grateful. So thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Thank you so much. I want to yield to the publisher for a quick comment, if there's any, on how to get the book and other announcements. And whilst we do that, let me acknowledge other people. I see Elsie, I see Annabella Osei, I see Amma Echan something. Some of your names are shortcuts. I see Dr. Beta Sewa, and I also see Nimze Dennis and Irabina Mills. So Nana, if you are there, any further directions on what to do in terms of where can we get the book on and which platforms and all of those things?
Thank you everyone for making this a memorable occasion. And this is greetings from Ghana National. Well, so the book globally can be obtained on Amazon. So everywhere you are in the world, on Amazon, paperback, and in Kindle. In Ghana, you can get them in bookstores, in Vidya Bookstore, Osu, Vidya Laboni, Citrus Bookstore, East Legon, which is run by an old girl. You can also get the Legon Bookstore, and then EPP Legon. And if you want to order it for delivery anywhere in Ghana, you can go to booknook.store. Booknook.store. So when you go to the site, there is a banner of the book which is rolling. So you don't struggle at all. You just click on the banner. It takes you to where you can order the book. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you. Let me sign out for the global viewers. Then I'll yield to AC Ansa from the Troublesome 93 group for your in-house discussions if the gay people want to have their own meeting, because I see comments around what you want to do for her. So we, the non-gay people, will leave after I sign out, and then the rest of you can continue with your conversations. So for those of you who've been watching us, it's been 2 hours of celebrating the work and life of the amazing Archie, Rosina Acheampong, who graced Wesley Girls as a student, a head prefect, a teacher, a head teacher, and now a legend. We thank you for being part of this publication. Go onto Amazon or Book Nook and buy the book. And till we meet again next time for her volume 2, live pure, speak true, right, wrong, honor, follow the king. Thank you.
Bernard, let me butt in. I think they might want to sing their school anthem.
Beautiful. That would be nice. So please go ahead.
We build a school on thee, O Lord. We do thee, we pray, the
Casey, we leave you to take over. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Archie.
Item 13.
What?